Hello, data enthusiasts. This is Chris Detzel, and
I'm Michael Burke.
welcome to Data Hurdles. We are your gateway into the intricate world of data where AI, machine learning, big data, and social justice intersect. Expect thought-provoking discussions, captivating stories, and insights from experts all across the industries as we explore the unexpected ways data impacts our lives. So get ready to be informed, inspired, and excited about the future of data. Let's conquer these data hurdles together.
All right, welcome to another Data Hurdles. I'm Chris Detzel, and
I'm Michael Burke. How you doing, Chris?
pretty good. It's been a little bit. How have you been?
Good. I'm working on building a chicken coop that I've just started. We just got 6 chickens. And so hot summer days, working outside, it's been fun trying to get in before the bugs come. How about yourself?
Yeah, man, just working hard and traveling a little bit. You and I got to run a half marathon together with another friend, Christoph, and your family and his family. And it was a lot of fun in New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah, that was great. And we've got another big one coming up in only 6 weeks now, right?
Yeah, Leadville, huh? Heavy half. So up 8 miles and down 8 miles. Starts at 10,000 feet. It goes up to about 13 something thousand
Yeah.
feet, and then comes back down to 10.
What do you say we could do the podcast on the run? That would be a good one.
Yeah, we'll be hiking up the first 7 or 8 miles, right? So it won't be a lot of running, I don't think.
Yeah.
You and I were talking a little bit about, and this podcast isn't going to be specific to any AI kind of focus, but you were mentioning one of your friends was looking for a job, and this guy's a professor. He's done a lot of stuff within ML and AI, and he has lots of experience in this kind of stuff. And you were telling me what these people were thinking or weren't thinking of from when they hired. I'd love to dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah. Look, I think that the job market fluctuates on a number of different factors, right? But one thing I have noticed is friends that are in the data science space, even who typically you even look back 3 years ago, you didn't need to blink to find a job, right? It was
Yeah.
something where we were in such hot demand. And now what you're starting to see is this definitely like overcapacity, right? I think a lot of people in the CS pivoted to AI and machine learning departments. It's become the focus of many CS majors, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting going back to schools. I was at UMass Boston lately helping with a hackathon, and it was just amazing. Like undergrads and graduates also struggling to find jobs. Just you never saw that previously, right? It was
Why do
always
you think that is? Because I would think just because when we were discussing this, first thought I was like, AI and ML people don't have problems getting jobs at all because every single company, it feels from a B2B, even B2C that sells software specifically, is looking for AI and ML people.
Yeah.
I think they are. It felt like they were, but you're saying something a little different.
But I think it's a number of things, right? For the undergrads, it's really just people need to move fast right now. Those that are just building teams and investing in AI need people that are pretty seasoned, thought up. And then for, I think, the more established players, there's been a lot of ambiguity with large language models and this influx and capacity of being able to use them for everything. And that's definitely not the case. I think for a lot of use cases, people are starting to realize that they can leverage a third-party AI like ChatGPT, and they don't need to spend a ton of money on a data scientist. They can spend their money on engineers that can implement those large language models. But in addition to that, I think that it's just global geopolitical and economical changes that there's probably just a soft spot in the market, right?
But I believe that maybe that's true. I don't deny it, maybe. But one is I see a lot of companies like Google, for example, moving a lot of their stuff, their employees and everything else. They've laid off some people and they're moving it all to India. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot cheaper to hire people in India still. I know some are like, yeah, it is still a lot cheaper to do that. And so you're seeing companies do that a lot. And so I think big tech companies, they're just going to move everything there. So do you think that affects anything or no? You look a little hesitant.
I think that migrating to overseas teams is also something that ebbs and flows, right?
Yeah, that's right.
People get scared. They need to cut costs. They migrate a lot of employees overseas. Then they realize that the output isn't what they are paying for, and they bring people back. And it just, a good mentor of mine once told me, I was asking him about strategies and working with global teams. And typically, at least in the past, it's been like 2/3 the output for somebody at working overseas. And there's a lot of disconnects, right? You've got cultural disconnects, you've got managerial disconnects, communication is tough. If you're working with people in the US, depending on where you are, there could be a few hours of overlap, right?
Yeah.
I think that it's a short-term trade-off in a lot of circumstances to get something out the door. But long-term, if you're talking about innovation and ideation, you either have to be flying there or sending people to come here frequently to stay in touch and keep alignment. Or things start to fall apart and you start to see silos, just like everything else. Zoom is not a replacement for a whiteboard and being in real life, no matter what way you slice it. At least that's my opinion, right? And I think that I work with tons of global teams right now and excellent communicators. But I think everyone would agree that if we were all in the same room for 24 hours, we could get a heck of a lot more done.
Yeah, definitely. Something I want to talk about that you and I were going back and forth the other day, and just want to get your point of view is these software companies that been around for a long time and they have to pivot to AI type of stuff and ML and real stuff that AI can help do. And I find that one is there's got to be a lot of legacy type systems that is on the backbone of, I don't know if it's legacy, but these older software companies, even if they're SaaS, they probably have an infrastructure that has, and more about back end infrastructure than I would, but that adding AI could break some of this stuff. You know what I mean? Hey, we want to start building AI. Maybe there's not enough memory or enough, I don't know, maybe compute power or I don't know, those kinds of things. What does that look like versus a company that's a startup and can just start using AI and stuff like that out of the gate? Is there a big opportunity and a big kind of disconnect or opportunity there? I don't know. Just get your thoughts.
Yeah, look, I think that the biggest risk to startups, right? When you think, we'll address it, there's a packed question, so I'm going to address it in a couple of is that most startups right now are generating and creating lightweight layers on top of large language models.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing with those startups is you're running into trouble because ChatGPT and Gemini, they're evolving so fast that they're gobbling up a lot of these ideas inherently by their platform expanding and becoming better at what it does.
Yeah.
You look at GPT 4.0 and you start to look at what is being released right now with video cameras. That completely changes what some startups were doing only a couple months ago. You look at startups that were creating music or voice. That's going away, and it's going away faster than anybody initially anticipated. And I think one of the things that's interesting, even for data scientists, is that nobody thought that this was going to happen as quickly as it has. And it's amazing how adoption has driven resources that have driven more innovation in such a short period of time. Larger companies, right, still really need to be worried and concerned. But the truth is, at least in most industries, your customer base and your revenue model doesn't change overnight, right? I think that there's some edge cases to that, certainly, where a few companies that will be bankrupt by these new technologies coming out. But for the most part, you take large infrastructure companies, they're creating a ton of added value inherently. And it's not to say that they won't be replaced in the next 3 to 5 years if they don't adopt AI, but just swapping out a technology with some of these large enterprises could take 3 to 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, like anything else, the larger you are as an organization, typically the harder it is to just change overnight, but also you've a customer base and a revenue model versus a startup that could be bankrupt tomorrow. They've got 3 months of burn and they're trying to get to a certain mark in customers. If they don't hit that because OpenAI creates a new feature that wipes them out, like, they're done. There's no recourse.
I think when you look at how like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude 3, et cetera. Obviously, those things it feels like everyday use, right? Whether it's creating images or content specifically, or maybe now I think you can code to some degree. It gives you some code type things. Like you said, creates videos of some sort. It's starting to has really cool video out around how ChatGPT can do some of that. I was like, oh my God, it's starting to talk to each other. You can have two phones up and ChatGPT can talk to itself. Anyways, that was pretty insane. But the way I'm thinking of it is you've got businesses like data companies or any other company that's integrating into enterprises and doing some certain thing, and they're using AI. I don't know that. I think that the innovation certainly can come from these bigger companies, right? A startup could solve a niche problem in a B2B company, in B2B companies, and then maybe it gets bought up or something like that. But it would be a lot easier to do that. But I think they still have to think about the customer base and everything else, like you said, is still going to be that I don't think ChatGPT and stuff is going to touch. There's going to be specific use cases for each B2B company technology.
Of course. I mean, look at some of the startups that have just emerged, like character.ai, right? They're making tons of money. How many maybe it was tens of thousands or 100,000 of people wished there. So if you don't know what character AI is, it is a platform where you can essentially talk to different models that are trained to act like certain people, right?
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of really strange research done on this where people are actually like logging on and having conversations with these people, but not asking them questions like on Khan Academy where you're trying to learn something.
Yeah.
To them, like sharing their feelings with them, right?
Huh. I'm going to have to go. Is it free? Okay.
Free to get started. And it is, but it's just like such a strange phenomenon, especially with the Gen Alpha and these younger generations. Like,
yeah,
there was something like 10 or 100,000 people that wished on New Year's their AI, they logged in to wish their AI a Happy New Year. And sure, one could say that's a total anomaly and it's a tiny fraction of the population, but there is something there that is really interesting, right?
Yeah. We'll see what happens next year because now it'd be really popular.
Yeah. And so if you look at a technology like that, sure, does it have anything really that unique compared to OpenAI? Not really. You can do all of those same things, but they now have a user base and a following that they were able to scale quickly.
Yeah.
People that are consistently logging in and using their platform. So that inherently is worth money and could be sold very quickly, I think. For larger companies, I think that most of them have just appended some sort of AI on the top, right? Like they've made a support bot or they've made one function that was typically harder to solve, an automation bot that does something for you that was slightly of an inconvenience, right? Or you had to write a rule or a system to solve it previously. I think going deeper and going into the core foundation of what your product builds,
yeah,
a much harder initiative with a lot more risk. And so what you'll see over the next couple of years is these larger organizations starting to do that. And as you go deeper, you take on more risk, but you're also going to be able to create a heck of a lot more value, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's where the opportunity for startups could be, is to create that thing that can help solve that bigger company's problem, the software company's problem, right? And they can buy that company and push it in or something like that. I see more of that happening potentially.
Yep.
Could be wrong. I don't know.
Now, look, all of these products are going to evolve over time and they're going to get more deeply integrated into our core systems. You're already starting to see it, right? I don't know if you've used Gemini's new integration with Gmail or the Google Store, your Google Workspace account, but you can turn this on and then ChatGPT is in your emails. It's in your Word docs. It's in your Excel sheets, right?
No, Gemini is, not ChatGPT.
Yeah, Gemini is, sorry. Yeah. And it's amazing, right? It's really incredible how much productivity that can enhance in a short period of time.
I'm going to start using that, or at least try to. I wonder if because we use Gmail for work, so I wonder if that's even a possibility. Maybe
It's
not.
expensive right now. I think it's like an additional $10 per user per month or something,
Oh,
right?
it is. Oh, okay.
But it is incredible when you turn it on, you open up an email and a response is partially filled out already, right?
That makes sense. Yeah. What other things can it do? I keep hearing about docs and things like that, that it can do some really cool things. And I'm like what? I keep hearing it, but I haven't really used it yet.
So think about when you're designing a document, especially if it's something more than just a simple blurb or a report.
Yeah.
You want to know the best practices on how to do it. So, like in engineering, a good one is a retrospective, right?
Mhm.
You can ask your Google Docs, what is the best way to format a document for a retrospective? And it will just spit out a template for you. And if you follow that template, it will likely work better for most circumstances than what you could come up with on your own. And it looks
Got it.
professional and it has a flow to it. I think that on something like Sheets, there are these new functions to help me analyze data where you can say, help me analyze this, right?
Yeah.
And pull out the anomalies or the things that are statistically significant in that data set for you to look at. And you don't have to do or know that parsing to really understand that. Now, it's probably going to work a lot better if you do know that data. But if you don't, it's a really good first step in moving
Yeah.
in the. So really
How
good
do you,
was we had recently in one of our products, we had a bunch of titles that people created, right? For events. And I was trying to figure out like what events are people creating? We don't have them create like a subject or select a category when they create an event. They just enter in a title.
Hmm.
That's a pretty difficult thing to do, but you can do word classifiers and things using AI, but all I had to do was export a sample of them and pop it into GPT and say, help me understand what our users are doing on the platform. And it spit out a ton of analysis on these different things just from the titles, right?
that was helpful.
Yeah, it was really useful.
Wow. That data goes then into ChatGPT and they keep it. So thanks,
Yeah.
Michael.
Well, it's definitely something where you have to be sure that whatever data you're sharing, right, with ChatGPT and any other organization that you're thinking about the data that's going in.
It's funny because I was talking to my brother yesterday or day before at lunch, and he said works for the fire department, and he was doing some stuff, and he does investigating work and what do you call it? I forgot what he did. But anyways, I was like, and he gets testimonies from different people about the investigation and things like that, and they record it. And I said, and he goes, "Hey, what's that? What do you use?" And I was telling him about this company called Script, and who they are, Mike. But basically, they can give you transcript of the entire audio or video. You can do a lot of different things. You can take out the ums and does a lot of AI type stuff. And he goes, "Yeah," he goes, "It's really cool. I played with it for a minute, but I'm not allowed to use it because it takes the data, right? Like it doesn't, they keep your data." And he said, our stuff is very, people say crazy things sometimes about who did what. This person started this fire, so they can't give that data up. So they have to be very careful in how they think about that. And AI systems that they use like this probably can't use ChatGPT or anything like that for that stuff. I think this is very important.
There was recently a couple government agencies that just banned ChatGPT. But the thing is, like, as an example, I have a model running on my local machine
Yeah.
that I do use with more sensitive information. And it is, sure, it's not as great as ChatGPT by any means.
Yeah.
It does a good enough job on things that I need to search where I don't want to relinquish my data to a third party. And I think that you're going to see this across the board. Like larger companies are starting to host their own internal models where you could put any data you want and none of it goes anywhere but within your system, right? That's coming. And I think if it hasn't already come for a lot of organizations.
Yeah. One of the things I'm been thinking about a lot is the new, I use iPhone. And so thinking about Siri and Siri being your own personal assistant in a way, like it knows your data, it's like it's more conversational rather than, hey, do this. Okay, I can do this. And for the most part, it can't do shit right now. Like you'll say, oh, can you look up something about someone's on the internet or on Google? I can't do that. But now a lot of that stuff is going to be just embedded inside your phone and going to be, like I said, your personal assistant. It's pretty incredible what they're thinking about. So I can't wait, actually.
There's so much more coming. There's a video that was just released yesterday from Google where they were demoing their new model. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. One of the things I love about Google is that they've done everything under the sun. They're also a hardware company. And
Yeah.
so in the demo, they actually plugged Gemini into Google Glass and demoed
wow.
looking at a whiteboard and saying, help me solve this problem on the whiteboard. And it did. And I think that's really where we're going to go is these models will be lightweight. They'll be able to run on extremely low power and be everywhere and in everything. And so imagine like every device in your home becomes this little personal assistant. It's going to be creepy, but it's also, I think, going to make it a lot easier, right? Like, how many times have you had to go into your TV to try to figure out the settings to fix something and it takes you a half hour, right?
Yeah.
You could just tell the TV to fix it, right? What if the TV just knows what to fix, right? There's so many things that I think in these embedded systems that we haven't touched yet that are going to be, they're going to come probably in the next couple of years, right? And I think
home automation becomes even more and more focused. Like I remember back in the day, home automation was a big thing. And it still is now, right? Like you have your refrigerator that can do a bunch of stuff. You analyze different things, it could be colder in one area than the other area. But everything is computerized in a way, whether it's your coffee maker or obviously your TV and all that kind of stuff, but it's going to be even more specialized. And think your car as well. I think cars are going to go a long ways. So that's fun to think about.
I walked into a friend of mine's home the other day and they have a refrigerator that's talking. It like literally is a talking refrigerator. And I was like, this I've ever. I started getting into it with them and I'm like, how does it work? Like, what's the real value here?
Yeah.
And its value was marginal. It's, you has a whiteboard you can write on and it tells you what, but then it had some cooler features, which I was impressed by. It actually knows what's in your fridge.
Yeah.
And tells you when you need to get something new or replenish something. And I was like, that's right. But we're still in this gimmicky phase with AI. Like they're starting to do some real value, but there's also a lot of gimmicky stuff. And it's going to be a while before we really pull out of that and get to these embedded systems that are solving deeper rooted problems. And when we get there, it's going to be like magic, right? For most people that don't understand how these work, you're just going to be plugged in to all of your systems and they're going to work hopefully better than they did when you had to do all of this manual work yourself.
Yeah. Mike, this has been a good discussion. It's a little different than usual.
Yeah, it was fun though. And we've got some really exciting guest speakers coming up soon. So really looking forward to that. Yeah, let's do more of these.
All right, let's do it. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to another Data Hurdles. Please rate and review us. I'm Chris Detzel and
I'm Michael Burke. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.